I'm here today to show you how to keep and maintain your original folding and your original bed in the best possible condition you can. There's a few things you're going to need in preparation for your preventative maintenance: a microfiber cloth, a slightly wet cloth, the toolkit that would have been supplied with your bed, which will have the Allen key and the spanner in there. And I'll also recommend just having a little bit of a mix of detergent and water for any extra cleaning you'd like to do on the bed. Let's get straight into it. So the first thing we want to do is just check our frame. On the frame, we're just looking for anything that we might not have noticed, any sign of wear and tear. And while we're doing that, we're going to check the foot strap, making sure that's nice and connected. Our wheels are all moving, going all the way around. Frame's in really good condition. While we're here, we're going to check our pulleys. We want to make sure they're nice and tight. Okay, so there's no movement on there. Just a good little reminder, make sure everything's nice and tight, ready to go. Okay, so the frame's in really good condition, I can see that. We're now going to check the rope, just looking for any wear and tear on the ropes. Now you can see this one has been used quite a bit. There's just a little bit of sign. Now that's not going to affect the experience, but it's something just to be aware of over time. But obviously, if you are using your bed a lot, like this bed is being used, there could be some sign of wear and tear, and we want to make sure that's staying smooth. So this rope overall is in really good condition. I'm not concerned at all by it. Same with our double loops, we just want to check them. And then also, we just want to get a feel for the pulleys on each side, just listening for any squeaks. Now, if you are using your bed regularly, I'm sure you'll be in tune with your bed and hear anything that might come up. Now, here this one's really nice and smooth. Everything's working really well. So ropes are a tick, pulleys are a tick. Just check your shoulder pads are nice and tight. It's important that we don't want any movement when we're working out, so just tighten that up. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to come over to our footbar actually. We're going to be having a look at the footbar. Now this is where you will need your Allen key. Now there's 3 bolts on the footbar that we want to keep nice and tight to make sure that footbar does stay nice and secure. First thing I'm going to do, however, though, is check every single footbar position, that it's springing and easily adjusting into each position. Great, so my footbar is adjusting into all the positions. I'm going to bring it back up to here. I'm just going to have a look at the 3 bolts that I was talking about. You got 1 here, 2 and 3. We just want to make sure that there's no movement in these bolts, so they're nice and tight. Not to the point that we're going to thread the nuts. The bolts, I should say. Okay, so they're nice and tight. So that's why this footbar is moving so nicely. Okay. Now I'm going to actually show you this one, because what's happened is I can see that over time this spring has slightly moved. Okay, so I'm just going to show you as an example. In this situation, I'm just going to loosen off the bolt, and then I'm going to re-tighten it in that position so it just takes that spring tension off. So over time, that's going to prolong the life of that little spring. Okay, then we're going to check these bolts while we're there, and everything's nice and tight. Now the footbar's in great condition, so I'm very happy with that. The next thing we're going to do is we're just going to check each of these spring knobs just to make sure there's no movement in them. If there was, of course, we've got our Allen key. We're just going to simply tighten it, okay? But they're all nice and tight. They're in really good condition. All right, we're going to get onto the carriage. So before we do that, though, we're going to check each of our springs. All right, now I do recommend being on the bed for this. And you just want to feel that everything's running nice and smooth. Okay, we're listening for any noises. And like I said, if you are using your bed regularly, like I'm sure you are, you will be in tune with your bed and notice any noises as they do come up. All right, so it's going to take a little bit of time, but what I recommend is going over each of those springs individually and get a feel for each of those springs and just listening for anything that might come up. Once you've done that, you're happy, all the springs are performing well. We're then going to take our ropes off, and we're actually going to take this carriage off, because we're going to have a look under the carriage to make sure that everything is nice and tight and performing like it should be. Excellent, so we're under our carriage now, and we can see we've got our 8 wheels and we can see all of our springs clearly. At this situation though, it's also the perfect time to clean your rails. Now, dust is the only thing really that can get in and affect the experience from time to time. So we want to make sure that there's no dust on these rails. You got to remember your wheels are working hard coming up and down these rails. So we're using our wet cloth first just to get any dust off. And then we're going to go over with a microfiber cloth to dry it off and remove any excess dust. Okay, everything's looking nice and clean here. We're heading back to the carriage. Now, we've already checked the carriage going up and down, made sure all our springs are in good condition, but at the same time, we do want to just individually check each of these wheels. All right, I'm looking for any movement. They should be nice and solid and all rolling. Okay, so I can see all these wheels are rolling well, and then there's no noises, and they're all nice and solid. In the event there was a little bit of movement in one of the wheels, simply grab your Allen key, which mine has disappeared, over here, and you've got those nuts. Now this one Allen key is pretty universal on your bed. Okay, you've got 3 different adjustments on the Allen key, and that's going to do 90% of the nuts on the bed. So that's going to cover you and make sure that in the event of anything being loose, you can easily tighten. I did feel this one was just slightly loose, so I'm just going to give it a little bit more and make sure it's nice and tight, and there you go. There's now no movement. Carriage is checked. We're going to give those springs a little bit of a wipe while it's in this position. Simply grab your wet cloth first, give that a wipe through each of those springs, removing any possible dust that may have built up over time. Now, of course, you can do this with a little bit more time. Just doing a quick crash course for you guys today. And then we're going to dry it off with our microfiber cloth. Once we've done this, we're going to put the carriage back on and make sure that your bed is ready for use. Okay, now I do recommend if you've got someone to support you, please use someone else. There is quite a bit of weight in these carriages, as I'm sure you're aware if you have moved it before. Safely bring the carriage back. Reattach the spring. And the last thing we're going to do at this point is give the bed one little clean over. That's where our spray and our microfiber cloth are going to come in really handy. Simply spray into the cloth and then wipe down your upholstery all over the bed, making sure you're keeping on top of your dust and keeping your bed in beautiful condition. Enjoy.